Peace to the people, power to the peaceful. The Black Heart Media is invading your airwaves with thoughts on blackness. Now, this was spurred on by a post I saw yesterday on the brother Eye of Horus's Instagram. Check the brother out. He definitely has some thought-provoking black content, interesting perspectives. But this young lady, she provided us some words from Putin, and I thought that every black person should hear this, but with the proper context, of course. But we're gonna go ahead and get into what Putin had to say and what this sister from Africa had to say about his words. All right, let's get right into it.
Diaspora News Channel. Russian President Putin says Africa is a cemetery for Africans. Before you form an opinion, first let me read you the whole quote of what he said. Putin says, quote, Africa will never be independent. Africans believe in Europeans, Americans, Chinese more than themselves. They don't trust themselves at all. A white man will commit crime in Africa, but no action will be taken because Africa authorities view us as semi-gods. Far from the truth, a black man can be abducted in Europe, get harassed, or even killed, but no African authority will question. Africans present themselves as weak people with no hope, especially when dealing with Europeans and Americans. They are their own enemies. They hate each other, and that gives their colonial masters power to continue exploiting African resources. When an African becomes rich, his bank accounts are in Switzerland. He travels to France for medical treatment. He invests in Germany. He buys from Dubai. He consumes Chinese. He prays in Rome and Mecca. His children stay in Europe. He travels to Canada, USA, Europe for tourism. If he dies, he will be buried in his native country of Africa. Africa is just a cemetery for Africans. How could a cemetery be developed? Putin asks. That's how it felt, really, hearing this from him. But let's be honest, let's have a real conversation. Is he really wrong? Is he telling the truth, or is he lying? Let's be honest with ourselves, Africans. It's time to really reflect. Let's see. Which statement he made is wrong? It sucks hearing this from another person. It sucks that somebody had a view about how we act, how we move, and said that about us publicly, and that's a leader of a nation, Russia. It's not really nice to hear that from another person. That's definitely his observation. He's entitled to his opinion, but let's talk about his opinion. Is it really wrong? His opinion is formed from what he saw. Let's be true to ourselves. Let's be honest with each other. It's sad. It's really sad. But this is what's happening right now. If we want to see the change that we want, we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to see the truth. We need to reflect, and we need to change what needs to be changed. From what Putin said, most of it is right. Let's be clear. Our leaders see the white man as semi-gods. He said it. He even said, it's not true, but you guys think we're gods. How awful is that to hear? They know their power. Get that. We believe that they are semi-gods. Don't get me wrong. Part of it is psychological. Part of it is because of colonialism. At the end of the day, it had an impact on the minds of the people, our ancestors. It left something, some scar. So without knowing it, psychologically, we're kind of colonized as well. We need to now break that chain and come out of it. That's the main thing now. We're discussing this because I think it's important, because I believe it's important. If we really look at ourselves and see where we're going wrong, we can fix it. I believe our politicians, our leaders, believe that these guys are semi-gods.
All right, that was a little tough to hear. But one thing people tend to forget about Europe and Africa and their dealings is that what we have now in Africa is a direct result of European meddling in Africa. How do we know this? Because we have leaders like Sankara, who have been, Lumumba, who have been deposed by Europeans, as we found out later, but we knew from the start. And the people that were put in place, these European proxies, immediately reversed or put in place situations or policies that benefited the European directly, instead of the Africans that it was supposed to. And what did we find out later? Well, We found out from DW.com and Silja Froelich in African Independence that the French was protecting its proxies from coup leaders, those coup leaders who would have been doing for and by the Africans. So the French were protecting these proxies from these coup leaders, and in exchange, with protecting them with military support and money, in exchange for the natural resources that would go directly to, in this particular case that I'm speaking about in this article, would be France. So right there, you have everything you need to see and know to understand clearly that when you see an African leader doing what Putin has described, it is with a European gun to his head, because as I pretty well outlined just a moment ago, if you're not in line with the eurocentric status quo, you will be removed. And we just saw this in Iraq and Syria. That was a movement, that was Iraq and Syria moving against the European Americans. And we see exactly what happened to them. They were declared terrorists and bombed off the map. And then a situation where policies were put in place to again benefit the European Americans. The picture is clear and illustrated many times in history, not only in Africa, Iraq, Syria, but also in Venezuela and also in Iran. So we know exactly, unfortunately, why they do that. But that also points to another point that this young lady brought out, and that speaks to the colonization of the black mind. Now, I have a book here written by Ishaka Musa Barashango. And this was written first printed in February of 1983. And it's called African People and European Holidays, a Mental Genocide. Now, this young lady made the point that black people are colonized in the mind. And we see that in the reception of black people of this message from Putin. All I have seen is facts, no lies detected, and the like. Totally ignoring the history. And that has to change. We have to get out of that very quickly, which will take me into what I plan to do with this channel moving forward, and that's have practical applications for the benefit of black people moving forward. The practical application we can take from this is to focus less on Eurocentric media and do our best to either develop or focus on Afrocentric media. And that right there will begin the decolonization, because you will be focused on how you can benefit your Africanness, not how you can benefit Europeans. You will see more of those like you, and will have to beg less for other people to put you in their stories, calling it representation. You will hear the black narrative instead of begging to have somebody else put the black narrative in theirs, calling it representation. In my opinion, I think that is a plausible first step that we can begin to take today. So that means, cut off your Netflix for a bit, cut off your Comcast for a bit, and tune into something that's African-centered. And with that, I'm going to say peace to the people, power to the peaceful, and remember, only the strong can demand that you operate in peace. So we got to stay strong, black people. The Black Heart, out.